Hi, Henrico learners and families. My name is Mrs. Wertz. I'm a teacher here at Verina Elementary, and our goal as learners today is to identify the theme in a story. So the theme is really awesome. It's one of my favorite parts of reading stories because it's kind of like a secret hidden message. So the theme of a story is the message or lesson the author wants you to learn. But it's not something the author's going to tell you right away in the book. They're not going to shout at the end, "This is the theme." You have to kind of hunt for it. So it's like a secret search throughout the book, and you use a lot of clues that the author gives you throughout the story to find it. Now, a lot of common themes that we see throughout stories and that we find a lot of times in books are things like love, family, acceptance and honesty, hope, kindness, perseverance, friendship, and bravery. And these are all lessons that authors think that we can learn a lot from when we read different stories. So the book I've chosen for us to read today is The Other Side by Jacqueline Woodson. I think this is an amazing story. I'm not going to tell you too much about it yet, but what I want you to do is while I'm reading the story, I want to see if you can figure out what the theme is. So while I'm reading, get a piece of paper and a pencil and write down what you think it is. And at the end, we're going to compare what you think the theme is to what I wrote down. Are you guys ready? Okay. The Other Side by Jacqueline Woodson. Illustrations by E.B. Lewis. That summer, the fence that stretched through the town seemed bigger. We lived in a yellow house on one side of it. White people lived on the other. Mama said, "Don't climb over the fence when you play." She said it wasn't safe. That summer, there was a girl who wore a pink sweater. Each morning, she climbed up on the fence and stared over at our side. Sometimes I stared back. She never sat on the fence with anybody. That girl didn't. Once, we were jumping rope. She asked if she could play. And my friend Sandra said no, without even asking the rest of us. I don't know what I would have said. Maybe yes, maybe no. That summer, everyone and everything on the other side of that fence seemed far away. When I asked my mama why, she said, because that's the way things have always been. Sometimes when me and Mama went into town, I saw that girl with her mama. She looked sad sometimes. That girl did. "Don't stare," my mama said. "It's not polite." It rained a lot that summer. On rainy days, that girl sat on the fence in a raincoat. She let herself get all wet and acted like she didn't even care. Sometimes I saw her dancing around in puddles, splashing and laughing. My mama wouldn't let me go out in the rain. "That's why I bought you rainy day toys," my mama said. "You stay inside here, where it's warm and safe and dry." But every time it rained, I looked for that girl, and I always found her somewhere near that fence. Someplace in the middle of the summer, it stopped raining. When I walked outside, the grass was damp and the sun was already high up in the sky. And I stood there with my hands up in the air. I felt brave that day. I felt free. I got close to the fence, and that girl asked me my name. "Clover," I said. "My name is Annie," she said. "Annie Paul." "I live over yonder," she said, "by where you see the laundry. That's my blouse hanging on the line." She smiled then. She had a pretty smile. And then I smiled, and we stood there looking at each other, smiling. "It's nice up on this fence," Annie said. "You can see all over." And I ran my hand along the fence. I reached up and touched the top of it. "A fence like this was made for sitting on," Annie said. She looked at me sideways. "My mama said I shouldn't go on the other side," I said. "My mama said the same thing, but she never said nothing about sitting on it." "Neither did mine," I said. That summer, me and Annie sat together on that fence. And when Sandra and them looked at me funny, I just made believe I didn't care. Some mornings, my mama watched us. I waited for her to tell me to get down from that fence before I broke my neck or something, but she never did. "I see you made a new friend," she said one morning, and I nodded, and Mama smiled. That summer, me and Annie sat on that fence and watched the whole wide world around us. One day, Sandra and them were jumping rope near the fence, and we asked if we could play. "I don't care," Sandra said. And we jumped. Sandra and me were partners the way it used to be. When we were too tired to jump anymore, we sat up on the fence, all of us in a long line. "Someday, somebody's gonna come along and knock this old fence down," Annie said. And I nodded, yeah, and said, "Someday." All right, guys, so what did you write down as the theme? I want to hear it. That's awesome. So let me show you what I have. The first thing that I said, the first theme that I noticed when I read this book was friendship. We have two characters in this story. Our two main characters are Annie and Clover. And at the beginning of the summer, they didn't really know each other. But over time, after sitting on the fence together and talking, our two girls became friends. And the other theme that I saw was acceptance. Because even though these girls were different, even though they were told to stay away from the fence and not go near it, not climb over time they accepted one another. And even Clover's friends accepted Annie, and they all started to play together. So our author usually gives us a lesson, something that they want us to learn, something that they want us to experience through the book that we can take with us after we finish reading, that we can bring into the world with us. And the lesson that I believe the author wanted us to learn is to be kind and accept one another no matter what we look like, no matter who we are. We need to be kind to one another and love one another just as Clover and Annie did in our story. So what I want for you guys to do is go ahead, find a book of your own, something that you really like. Maybe it's a book you've read before, maybe it's a book you haven't read, and find the theme. Remember, it's that secret message that the author wants you to learn and take with you as you go forward. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Happy learning, stay safe. I'll see y'all soon.